Okay, we will go ahead and get started here. Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Schleiden-Remley. I am the membership manager at AIST, and welcome to our second talent acquisition webinar. Please be advised that we will be recording today's session, so we have a clear record to reference when preparing notes and follow-up materials. As we all know, a skilled workforce is required to continue the technological advancements necessary for a sustainable steel industry. To support this evolution, the AIST Foundation's mission is to ensure the iron and steel industry of tomorrow will have a sufficient number of qualified professionals. These webinars are one way we're working toward that goal, and we're so glad you could join us today. Before we get started, I would like to go through a few important housekeeping reminders for everyone. First up is our antitrust guidelines. Please take a moment to read through the bullet points on your screen. AIST's antitrust guidelines emphasize the law that prohibits agreements between two or more individuals or businesses to regulate prices or quantities of goods and services, to allocate customers or territories, to limit competitor operations, or otherwise unreasonably restrain business activity. Everyone who participates in any AIST activity must follow these guidelines. I also want to brief you on our anti-harassment policy. Please take another few moments to read the text on your screen. AIST's anti-harassment policy emphasizes the importance to provide a harassment-free environment regardless of age, race, religion, disability, or gender. And lastly, just a quick reminder, please keep yourself muted when you're not speaking to minimize background noise. If you have questions during the webinar, feel free to type them into the Zoom chat and we'll address them as we go. Now that the housekeeping items are finished, let's get started. We have 4 outstanding hosts who have played a key role in organizing this session. To begin, I'll invite Chloe Myers from Steel Dynamics to introduce herself.
Thank you, Danny. My name is Chloe Myers. I work at Steel Dynamics at the Steel Dynamics corporate office headquartered in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My role at Steel Dynamics is I direct our internship program, which has over 170 interns annually across the United States and Mexico, as well as I recruit for any of our professional positions that we have. And that can be anything from a pilot to a metallurgist to even a regional sales manager or an executive. One of the biggest things that has changed at Steel Dynamics over the years has been our recruiting efforts. In the last 5 years, we have ramped up our recruiting program, which I'll talk about later, to include over 90 fairs annually. Steel Dynamics has always been highly involved with AIST, including participating in the UIRR. We sit on the AIST Steel Intern Scholarship Committee, and we also attend the Steel to Students reception. One thing you need to know about me is that I am extremely passionate about recruiting for the steel industry. I'll pass it off to Morgan Benner, Cleveland Cliffs.
Hey everyone, like Chloe said, I am Morgan. It's great to see everyone. I am on the AIST Scholarship Committee. I also go to the University Roundtable and the Steel to Students reception every year, twice a year. I manage the internship program at Cleveland Cliffs, which consists of over 100 interns and co-ops annually. I also help facilitate all the campus recruiting efforts across our company and for our locations. I have 13 years of talent acquisition and college recruiting experience in manufacturing and the transportation industries. And as a 4th generation steel employee myself, I am so passionate about helping the next generation find their future in steel just like I did. Next, I would love to introduce Kristen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kristen Perkins. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager here at the corporate office at Nucor. I've been fortunate enough to spend the last 18 years in the steel industry, all with Nucor, and I'm excited to say that my current role I have the ability to lead our enterprise recruitment team and strategy, coordinating across 5 different national conferences, as well as 12 different universities, and these efforts to ensure that we're connecting with top talent across the country. I also have the ability to oversee our internship program, which brings in more than 150 interns annually, where we kind of focus on that hands-on experience to prepare our students for meaningful careers in the steel industry. I also get to play a role in managing our developmental programs across the enterprise, where there's structured growth opportunities that support early career professionals and setting up for long-term success within our company. I also remain actively involved in the UIRR and the Steel to Student reception at the AIST. And as you can see, I'm deeply invested in recruiting top talent and building strong, high-performing teams, because that is how we secure a strong future for our industry. And I'm going to turn it over to Danny Odom.
Good afternoon. I'm Danny Odom. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager for ArcelorMittal Calvert. About 17 years of experience in the talent recruitment process and 7+ years of experience specifically in steel recruiting through ArcelorMittal. My team here at our facility supports all position levels from leadership, engineers, analysts, hourly hiring roles, but we also lead the effort for workforce development support, such as the internship programs, the high school and university recruitment events and programs, and assist with the apprenticeship programs. I'm very passionate about workforce development. Was excited to get engaged with the AIST Foundation and get more involved. I participated in UIRR. I'm involved in the Steel Intern Scholarship Committee, and we hire AIST Steel Intern Scholars at our site. So I'm really excited to be here today, and thankful for you to be here today. All right, we're going to move forward now and talk with Chloe about long-term goals.
Well, thank you, ladies. As you can all tell, we have a really passionate bunch of steel industry HR here today to talk about different aspects of recruiting at universities. I love that Morgan always shares that she's a 4th-generation steel employee. I'm a 3rd-generation steel employee myself, so lots of passion here. As you all know, this is our 2nd talent acquisition webinar. In our first meeting that you had with us, the primary goal was for us to gather data from participating companies like yourselves to understand talent acquisition challenges across the steel industry. Starting with this meeting and moving forward, our goal will be to identify and share best practices in areas where companies like yourselves are struggling. The webinars really serve as a collaborative space to exchange ideas, uncover trends, and discuss solutions to help strengthen and sustain the steel industry's talent pipeline. The long-term goal at the end of this call is to leverage the shared data that we have, develop insights, and make evidence-based talent acquisition decisions to benefit all of the participating companies today. And you can see here on this slide, here are some of the companies that have participated either at the UIRR, on the last talent acquisition webinar, or even participating today. Okay, I'll pass it off to Kristen Perkins to talk about today's goal.
So today's webinar has 2 main points. First, we will look at which universities have the most potential for us to recruit from. And then secondly, we're going to talk about the best practices your companies can use to connect those schools and build strong relationships. We will also be hearing from a panel of steel students and hiring managers later that will share their work experience, as well as what the students are looking for when they're thinking about creating a career in the steel industry. And by the end, we should have some clear ideas and strategies where we can all take away and use from this call today. So let's look at the first part. Okay, which universities have recruiting potential for industry and AIST? And I'll turn it over to Chloe.
Thanks, Kristen. So on the left of your screen, you can see the Steel Intern Scholar source list. And for those of you who don't know, AIST Foundation has a AIST Steel Intern Scholarship where 50 students per year can win a scholarship where they earn money towards their education and they receive an internship in the steel industry. So on your left, this is where all of those steel intern scholars are sourced. The percentages that are next to each college represent the percentage of students who received the scholarship from each college. So you can see the top two universities are one, a university from Mexico, and then the second university is a university from Canada. And the reason that those are both 10% is because that is the maximum allotted for that university or that country. So moving down, you'll notice that the different universities in the United States, they're more evenly dispersed because there are more colleges applying from those nations. The schools in red on your left list are places where AIST already has a strong presence. And we know that because there's a large percentage of students applying to the scholarship from these colleges. But they are in red because these are colleges where industry companies have not reported that they recruit at a high percentage. So these are great opportunities for employers to do even more with recruiting because we know that the students there are already familiar with AIST, they know about the steel industry, and they are looking for steel internships because they applied to the scholarship. So if you're a company on the call and you're looking for new places to look for things like metallurgy, electrical, mechanical, etc., these universities may be a really good place for you. On the right, these are the schools that industry companies reported as having recruited at most. So the colleges in blue are the colleges where we don't have AIST Steel Intern Scholar representation. So that means that the AIST awareness there, or maybe even the steel industry awareness, is lower than where we want it to be. So that means AIST, as well as supporting companies, need to be going out to these colleges, which we know the companies already are, and drumming the beat of AIST, explaining to the students there are opportunities for you in the steel industry to help you pay for your education and opportunities that can help link you with an internship in the steel industry. With that, I'll pass it off to Kristen to talk a little bit more about those categories on the right, the blue colleges, where companies can be doing more to talk about AIST.
Thank you, Chloe. So just highlight some of the programs, within the industry that we maybe don't have a presence at. So this slide shows underrepresented universities and schools where we as companies in our industry recruit heavily at, but then also where we don't have the students being represented or participating in the AIST scholarships at that same rate. These are big opportunities for us because these programs have sizable student populations in majors like material science, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, metallurgy as well. So as you look at this slide here, for example, Mississippi State has over 1,300 students combined in electrical and mechanical engineering, yet very few apply for AIST scholarships. And the same is true for Ohio State University, Penn State, and the University of Pittsburgh. When looking at all of these schools with a large material science and mechanical engineering program are feeding talent into the steel industry. So this misrepresentation or underrepresentation affects both AIST as well as the companies here. And by increasing our visibility and outreach at these campuses, especially during our recruiting visits, we can help connect more students to those AIST resources, the scholarships, and career opportunities within our steel industry. So let me turn it back over to Chloe, where she can talk about the students' needs by the major.
Yeah. So this chart shows the top majors that steel industry has said that they need and where the greatest needs will be over the next 15 years. So you can see that material science and metallurgy, as represented with the Steel Intern Scholarship applicants as it stands, are at a good level. We know that we're receiving to the AIST Steel Intern Scholarship proportionally the number of students that we will need in the next 15 years. Same goes for mechanical engineering and chemical engineering, both very well represented. However, the same is not true for electrical engineering and safety. These stand out as the biggest gaps, with electrical engineering representing 26% of the industry need. However, the scholarship only has 2% of students in electrical engineering making up the whole of the students. Same with safety, 9% of the total need for companies, but only 5% of the winners have been safety. And this is not a gap from the AIST Steel Intern Scholarship Committee selection. I just want to clarify that we are lacking these students because these students are not applying to the scholarship. Or in other words, individuals in safety and electrical engineering are not seeking out the steel industry at the same rates that material science, metallurgy, chemical engineering, and mechanical engineering are. So as your company begins to prepare for the next 10, 15 years, I think we need to start building a talent pipeline in these areas of electrical and safety. And one way that we can do that is when you're out recruiting, we can be talking to students about the AIST Steel Intern Scholarship in relation to electrical and safety. Electrical is typically a more locally recruited major, meaning that usually electrical engineers are not wanting to relocate for work as much as, say, a metallurgical engineer would, because metallurgists go into the field knowing most likely they'll need to relocate. Safety is similar to metallurgy. So many people go into safety understanding if they're getting a 4-year degree in safety, they may need to relocate to a manufacturing facility. So while electrical engineering is local, safety universities could include Slippery Rock, Marshall University, University of Findlay, and many more that we're happy to provide to you if you would like to start building your talent pipelines in these areas. Okay, Kristen, would you like to introduce part 2?
Sure. So part 2 of our conversation is we're going to talk about what are the best practices for interacting with universities. And I'm excited to share some of those best practices from our company. It may not be a surprise to those on this call today, but I'm going to take an approach from a larger enterprise standpoint or a corporate standpoint rather than a smaller scale or a local standpoint, as we have 2 different efforts in our company, but I'm going to speak more to the enterprise standpoint and interactions that we have with universities. So the first one is going to be with we host annual Nucor Weeks, and that is based on a list of events that we have and that we utilize our time on campus during the entire week to interact with students, faculty, have face-to-face interactions with them to have a deeper understanding of what they're looking for in companies, and also give them a deeper understanding of what our culture, values, and how we operate as a company. For example, during the week, we will do resume and interview workshops. We'll put together some social events. We'll also have touch points with student organizations, as well as spending time on campus. This allows us to kind of build brand awareness, teach them about the industry, and find those students that are enthusiastic about working for the steel industry. And then we also look to build long-term faculty partnerships. And again, these are some best practices that we've seen successful, whereas long-term faculty partnerships to ensure that our presence is integrated into kind of the academic community, collaborating with professors on curriculum, putting in some technical training and industry needs that we have, as well as sponsoring some capstone or even case competitions, supporting the faculty in their research and other materials that they need as well. And then we also engage early with the students, and that goes beyond just their freshman year. We look at doing early orientation, sponsoring and engaging at those events. We also support summer youth programs, those that are trying and exploring different avenues of engineering prior to going to college. We'll connect with summer youth camps. And then we'll also look at participating in the organizations early on with a SWE, a NSBE, ASME, to continue to understand and find interest, or allow them to find interest in our industry. The other is maintaining visibility and consistent presence at our universities and campuses. And if we can provide a consistency, It's not just a one-time-a-year event. We try to get out multiple times because it reinforces the relationships, and it also shows that we're willing to be there throughout the course of the entire year, so they can build connections, which leads me to the final, and it's utilizing our teammates. We don't have a large recruitment team at Nucor. We call ourselves strong but mighty, because we utilize our teammates that are subject matter experts when it comes to recruiting at our specific core schools. So we can look to build those connections, have those teammates interact with students and engage with them so they understand what that role actually looks like when they come into the steel industry, and they can get that experience and exposure to them. Now let me turn it over to Chloe to talk about their talent pipeline and recruitment efforts.
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, so Kristen gave a really great example of what it looks like when a larger enterprise is looking to recruit and build new talent pipelines for the steel industry. We talked about areas where you can build those talent pipelines, and now we really want to focus on how do you do that as a next step. From the Steel Dynamics perspective, I really wanted to bring to the table today some options for maybe smaller enterprises that do run lean, because we know that in steel and in manufacturing in general, a lot of us don't have large recruitment teams or lots of resources to make recruitment happen. So, the first thing that Steel Dynamics does that smaller companies could replicate is, I like to say, I share the love with recruiting. So, what that means is it's not an individual like me that's trying to go to every single university across the United States. One, that's not feasible. And two, I don't know that a metallurgy student wants to talk to me. So, what we do here at Steel Dynamics is I create a recruiting spreadsheet with all of the universities and university different career fair dates. We send that out to all of our managers, supervisors, engineers, safety individuals, etc. And we allow anyone at Steel Dynamics who's interested in signing up to recruit to sign up to do that themselves. And so it really lets the locations control their own narrative on where they would like to recruit and build those talent pipelines. We like to keep that decentralized model when we can. And it also takes a lot of the pressure off of the corporate perspective in having to hire those large recruitment teams and things like that. The next thing that we do is we connect internships to full-time opportunities as much as we can. So every time that a student leaves Steel Dynamics, and like I said, we have 170 interns annually, every single intern completes an exit interview with my team. And in all those exit interviews, our main goal is one, to gather where did you hear about the steel industry and how can we replicate that again? And then two, what is your next step as an intern? Are you going to come back for another internship? Are you going to come back for full time? And if you're not, what can we do to equip you to eventually come back to us one day? And I try to make it as black and white as I can, despite living in a gray area in HR, right? So if those students are interested in coming back and that intern receives a positive manager evaluation, I'm going to write that offer letter right then in September for the next summer. That way, it takes the question out of that student having to go and explore other opportunities. And it gives them some sense of belonging, right? When an employer is coming to them 9 months before their job even starts, that shows a commitment to the student that makes them want to keep coming back to Steel. The next thing is, we know that our relationships with educational partners is one of the most important aspects of recruiting students. It's the professors that the students trust most. And so when those students are in class, they're going to listen to the professors sharing about the strong relationships that they have with employers, like Kristen said. And so for Steel Dynamics, that means that we try to sit on every manufacturing council that we can, whether it be locally or it be on a board for a large college that has like a metallurgy program or a good electrical engineering program, and on different talent boards. So making sure that, let's say, work-based learning, high school internships are really popular in your area. I know that's a hot topic in HR as of late. If you work for a steel company that can't support interns in high school, staying involved in that conversation and making sure that the educators, the different employers, et cetera, they know your name as a company keeps that brand recognition going for the steel industry. We also maintain a consistent campus presence across multiple divisions. So what that means for Steel Dynamics is, we know that when we go to a university, we want to keep going back for every fall and every spring career fair when we can. because students are going to show up to the booths that show up time and time again. We know that in the steel industry, you can't just show up when you need someone. You have to show up understanding that I need to be recruiting now if I want someone 5 years from now. It's an ongoing effort to create a talent pipeline in the steel industry. And then last but not least, lots of our divisions create capstone opportunities for our students in the form of if that student is doing research and they're not able to do an internship in the summer or throughout the school year, we want to be flexible with those students to give them an opportunity to interact with the company if they can. And we can often do that through capstone opportunities by giving them projects that an intern might do on site, but at their college, and then maybe even donating materials for them to do that. Lots of times our mentors, our managers and supervisors and engineers, they will travel to that college when they can, maybe once or twice a year. Maybe they align that visit with a career fair to talk to the students in the classroom and say, hey, we may not have an internship for you right now or a full-time job for you right now, but we want you to know about us so that 5 years when you're looking, you keep us in mind. All right. And with that, I will pass it off to Morgan Benner.
All right, so I am so excited to host this portion. Really just having an open forum. Chloe, Kristen, thank you so much for sharing your guys' best practices, really from two, opposite sides of the spectrum in some ways. But we want to hear from you all now. We would love for you to unmute, put it in the chat. What are your best practices for building strong steel talent pipelines at your company? What do you think you do that makes you really stand out, or maybe something that is unique to what you just heard from these two ladies?
Hey, I will get us started and share a little bit more about some things that we do at our site. I feel like, we take a little from both sides, right? We at our facility, while we're a global business, my team supports the hiring just for my location. And so there's about 1,700 team members at our site. And just, taking context from that, we will hire up to 20 university interns into our program, and we partner with a set number of universities and within a certain radius from our site that are considered our consistent partner schools. So those are some of the things that we do. And then we try to be a campus presence with those schools and, in a variety of ways, but we share our jobs through Handshake as a platform, a career platform for students and employers to connect. So we share our positions there, and we use tools like AIST to reach directly into the steel segment and find students interested in steel manufacturing. And so those are some other resources that we channel, for the needs that we have. One of the things I really like that we do is that we do what we call brand ambassador training. And so I create a training to train the people who are going to attend events for us to equip them with the elevator pitches, the most recent knowledge they need to have about what openings we're sourcing for, what positions we have, what materials we're using, what logistical information they have to consider when they're going to an event. And we use iPads as a feature as well at events. So we have the students scan a code, type information in from their phone to upload their resume. And then on the iPad, the ambassador has the capability to pull up their profile and add some notes in as soon as it comes into the system. So what we do is also train the ambassadors through this training to use the iPad. So this is something that we do every year. We do an open training, but anybody can sign up to become a brand ambassador. So we have a form we send out to let people tell us, these are the types of events I want to go to, like, at high school, technical school, university. I want to go to advisory boards. I want to be part of an advisory panel. I want to give presentations to the community. And then what we do is do one presentation that kind of covers all the gamut, like everything you need to know about these things and how to build your presentation, how to build your message, and what you can and can't do. So that's what we do for them. And that's something I'm really proud of that we do that I think is a really fun feature.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Danny. All right,
Hi
who
there.
else? Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
Anuradha. I'm at the J&E Consulting in Hamilton, right beside McMaster University, which we were just talking about. Um, when I go to the job fairs, I take people that we recently hired from there to go with us, so they can speak to their, first 3 months, first 6 months, first year, how it's been. Also our managers that graduated from there, I take them with me. So I try to do a mixed bag of who comes with me. And so we do the university, we do McMaster as our largest one because we are located in Hamilton. We do a lot of work with them. And then we also have colleges here, which are technical colleges, I guess, for the US. And I do the same thing. People that we hired from there. We only take co-ops from those two major colleges and universities because those are the ones that we know the best and they know us and our location. I have done some recruiting in the US, University of Pittsburgh. We're going back again in a couple of weeks, and Penn State, we have gone a few times. So going to Penn State, and I'll speak to that because I saw it was on the list of, trying to get the steel industry in there. They have no idea, no clue. And same with the University of Pittsburgh. Same thing. This is our second year. We actually decided to sponsor both years because they had no idea who we were. They had no idea about the steel industry. So sponsoring the events too, I think, brings you to the forefront, and people tend to come to you and to your table. And it's really important to do that. Connect with, like we were saying earlier, connect with the professors. Do after hours pizza nights, we do that too, so we can get to know the students in their first year. We sponsor first year, the Frosh Weeks. We sponsor that for the engineering division here at McMaster. You basically have to keep your hands in the pot at all times. That's the only way I think it works.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great best practices. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I love how you shared you're very, very strategic on taking alumni, because I think, right there you have a commonality, and the students that you talk to will automatically kind of open up because they feel like they're, talking to someone they're related to. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. And we get tons of referrals from the new grads that we hire. Because we go to the job fairs, they see that they're working here, and then we've got one new grad that we hired 2 years ago that's brought in 4 new grads for us from McMaster, because he can't stop talking about how great it is to work here, and I'm like, I wish everybody would do that, make my job so much easier.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So yeah, it's great. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. We would love to hear from somebody else.
I just had a question for Danny, who was speaking earlier when you were talking about the brand ambassadors, that you open that up for all of your employees. So actually, I guess I should introduce myself. So I'm Carly from Stelco, also in Hamilton. So when you're opening that up, do you get a large response rate from individuals? Because I could just see us opening that up and the floodgates are just opening up and we get a lot of responses.
We do get a lot of response, but we are then, driving. We are the people determining who are, asking to attend events and who are training and what phases we're training them. And so we give everyone the opportunity to sign up, but we don't make any guarantees about attendance. And we preface that in our presentation with saying, we are only allowed to take sometimes 2 people to one event. And sometimes that person does have to be from recruitment, depending on what the, event is. But we do always try to explain that. And we also like to have brand ambassador teams that we build up. So people who become well-trained and very capable of doing events are very good at solo events and may not need that additional talent support. So we do try to build teams. So while we do get some really good interest, we do preface that with making sure people understand that they may not be selected to attend because it depends on the volume of events and the number of people who can go.
All right, so I'll kind of just share, hopefully briefly, just what I've done at Cliffs the last several years. So in the last 5 years, we have gone through a lot of acquisitions, and where I'm at is one of the companies that was acquired literally 3 days before the world shut down in 2020. So that was fun. And when I took over this program, the biggest thing that I focused on was just harmonizing, because each company all coming together, they all did their own thing on campus. They all had their own teams, and we really centralized. And as we kind of navigated, how do we want to do things moving forward? I really just wanted to focus on building strong relationships with my supporting HR and LR at all of the different locations, but also identifying really, really strong technical experts. In the past, before I took over the program, we had some folks in the departments that really were not equipped, and they were going on campus just being doom and gloom about the steel industry and how dirty it was and just everything that a recruiter would pass out over. And so, I really strengthened those relationships and identified who was going to be the best representation on campus. And I really focused on just having a universal candidate experience, to where that way, depending on what the steel industry looked like and how cyclical it was, I could always depend on my interns going back to campus and saying that they had a great experience. So we made universal orientations and interviewing process and volunteer events. And one thing that I love that we've done the last few years is we created an intern t-shirt design contest, where interns who were interested, they would sign up for this design contest, and I would put people in groups of 3 or 4 different interns, and they would create a design to go on the back of a shirt that every single intern would want. And each year I have a different panel of judges that are either from the executive team or senior leadership that first kind of vote on, okay, if there's 14 designs that we have, I have the panel of judges pare that down to 5, and then those 5 designs I send out to the entire intern population, HR population, and the manager population, and then a winner is picked. And then during their exit interviews or during their final intern presentations at the end of the summer, that's when we distribute those t-shirts to everyone and announce the winner. And the first year I did this, I knew I was taking a risk because I was really scared that no one would volunteer, but we had a ton of people volunteer. And the thing that surprised me the most was over 100 managers ordered shirts for them and their teams that actually worked with the interns. So that has been a huge hit. And so again, as the steel industry is cyclical, as we all know, as my company has gone through a lot of changes, I've really just tried to focus on controlling the controllables and controlling the candidates, and the candidates during the process having a great experience, and then the interns once they're here having a great experience, so they can really just be walking billboards, not just by word of mouth, but also by wearing the t-shirt around campus. So that's definitely a few things that I've put into practice over the last few years. Before I move on to our next portion of the call, does anyone on the call have any questions for either Chloe or Kristen based off of the information that they shared earlier on their best practices? Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for participating, and I would love to kick it over to Danny Odom on the next portion of our call of the Steel Professionals panel.
All right, well, thank you very much. And again, thank you all for being here today. We're really excited about this information sharing and knowledge gathering. We do have 3 fantastic panelists here today who bring different perspectives on recruiting and inspiring the next generation of steel professionals. So before we jump into questions, I'd like to start by having each of you briefly introduce yourselves, give your name, your role, and a quick overview of your background. And if you have any questions for the panelists, those who are participating today, please feel free to put them in the chat. I would like to invite Robbie to go ahead and start first with introductions.
Well, hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Robbie. I'm a metallurgist by background. I started in SBQ steel industry, and then I went to flat roll, and now I am our physical testing supervisor of our laboratory here at the Aluminum Dynamics Division of Steel Dynamics. So thanks again for having me.
Welcome. Okay. Then we will move to Josh.
Hello, my name is Joshua Nelson. I'm an industrial engineering student at Penn State, and over the summer I worked at ArcelorMittal Calvert, and I'm glad to be here. So thank you for having me.
Erica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica McClafferty. I'm a college recruiter with Nucor. I am an alum of Montana Technological University with a degree in metallurgical materials engineering. Switched over to the talent world a couple years ago, and I had 3 years of internship summers within the steel industry. So that's how I got looped in.
Excellent. Well, thank you all again. I would like to get started by asking the supervisors questions. So Robbie and Erica, these questions are for you. To get us started, what initially inspired you to begin recruiting in the steel industry, and what keeps you passionate about engaging with students? We'll start with, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So I was really lucky to have a phenomenal internship experience myself, and that was one of the reasons that I was really interested in paying it forward, basically, to the incoming students that we have in our program. I had an opportunity to work on really cool projects that weren't replicable, and that made me really excited. I got to work with a great team, and so that really sparked my interest in being able to provide that same opportunity for other people that were coming into the steel industry, because I think it's wonderful. One of the things that keeps me really passionate about engaging with our students and being involved with the intern program is that I learn something new from our interns every year. I love seeing the new people come into our program. It's an opportunity to share a great experience that I had and learn something new from new people. I learn something from every group of our interns, and I think that's one of the things that keeps me really excited about it.
I love that perspective. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Similar to Ravi, because I started with my internship program, I had a really great program director. Her name was Robbie Brost. So we kind of go back a little bit, but Robbie was a really great mentor, and that mentorship kind of was eye-opening to the industry, but then allowing me to kind of come back into the industry and get those internships, and then wanting to bring new students in to have that same experience and get to be that mentor for new students coming in and getting to see them kind of fall in love with the industry of steel is part of the reason why I love recruiting and giving back to that intern program that I got my start from.
And I love the highlight specifically, for the internship programs. And are there any other student programs, scholarships, such as the AIST Steel Intern Scholarship, for example, that your company has found especially impactful in building the early talent pipeline? We'll go ahead with Robbie.
Yeah, so we've had a really good experience with all of the AIST scholarship recipients that we've had come through SDI. I think that's a really good source for internships, and we do really well with those interns. One of the other things that we found really, really beneficial is not just being able to go to career fair, but being able to, one of my favorite events is, I think Miss Maida mentioned it earlier, our informal sessions that we have after the career fair. Where it's more casual. We get to bring our teammates to have discussions about what's it really like to work for Steel Dynamics, and what do you like and what do you dislike. It's an informal session where all questions are welcome, and that's something that it works really well for us. One of the other things that is really cool is that there are a lot of programs at a lot of the colleges that encourage hands-on engineering, like bladesmithing. Montana Tech has it, Colorado School of Mines has it, South Dakota School of Mines also has it. So those programs, getting involved with them, being able to sponsor material and being resources like, hey, come, we'll do webinars, we'll come down and do sessions on site. Those work really well for us as well. And I think Chloe mentioned also that we've started doing some capstone projects, working with students locally, and helping connect those people with mentors in the steel industry for some really high value added projects. So you can see what it's like and also work with your professors and the schools at the same time. So that's been really impactful, building our early talent pipeline and successful intern to full-time transitions.
Yeah, and a lot of those programs work really well for us too, those hands-on experiences that Robbie was mentioning. Another thing that we've been involved with on our campuses is the summer camp, summer youth programs that have been really beneficial to get in front of students in their high school years and be able to kind of introduce them to the steel industry and debunk a lot of the ideas that you might have about steel industry when they're young. It's been very impactful. We get students that then come back to that university as freshmen and they're so excited to talk to us at the career fair. So that's been a really good grab for talent for us. And then also just informing students what the steel industry is. And then for some scholarship access, the AIST scholarship has been really big for our interns. So at the completion of their internship, we do as recruiters make sure that all of our interns are aware that they're eligible for the AIST scholarship. And that's been huge for our recruiting. And I think just retaining talent within the steel industry as a whole is these students see kind of the collaboration in industry as a whole and appreciate that support. College is not cheap. So all of the help that they can get nowadays has been huge. And we've gotten a lot of feedback on how beneficial this AIST scholarship has been. So we really make it a point at the end of our internship summers to make sure that our interns that we've had on site throughout the summer are aware of the scholarship and that they're able to apply to it. And that's been great for us as well.
There's some very excellent highlights. I really enjoy hearing about, the camps and, some of the programs with the universities to keep the relationship alive with the students and to continue to help with the education portion. Branching out from there, are there specific events that you attend, career fairs, those specific partnerships you form that you think are proven effective in helping connect with high quality student talent? We'll start with Robbie.
Again, definitely those career fairs and getting on site non-career fair as well has been very impactful for us as well. There's so many opportunities when students are on site for career fairs. There's so many companies. So one of the things that we're trying to do more of, and some of our divisions do such a great job of it, at connecting with some of those like materials advantage clubs or the bladesmithing. Steel Dynamics Columbus has a really good relationship with one of their partners. They have fundraisers, and so we go supply the material, and then we purchase their fundraisers and bring them back on site. But definitely career fairs and making those informal connections with the students has been very, very helpful for us.
Yeah, I'd echo everything Robbie said, but also someone earlier in the call, I think it might have been Chloe, mentioned that, or maybe it was you, Danny, about being on campus even when you're not, you don't actively have a whole bunch of positions to fill, but maintaining that visibility on campus is really important to make sure that the candidates, they're rotating through every 4 to 5 years. So maintaining that presence is really important to have that brand recognition, not having to rebuild each year. That's been really important for us too.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great message. It's all about consistency and just showing up. I mean, showing up is what sticks. So now one last question. Well, actually not one last question. I have 2 more questions. But let's shift to talking about messaging and materials a little bit more. What messaging or materials such as, videos, social media, or in-person events have you found most effective in helping students understand what a career in steel can look like?
I think it's already been mentioned on the call, but one of the things that we love to do is utilize our our interns as sources of, hey, what is it really like to work for this company? And I know that's been mentioned on this call a couple of times, but new hires going back to recruit and saying, hey, here's what I love about the company. Hey, here's what I get to do on a day-to-day basis. Here's what I got to do as an intern. Here's what I get to do full time, and really leveraging the students that have had an opportunity to experience and then bring it back to their fellow pretty much students still has been very, very effective for us, especially. And being able to talk about what it's really like. What does a day-to-day look like? What do you get to work on? What do you do every day? And being able to leverage that, you spend so much time as an intern learning what it's like, then sharing that, or even our full-time hires that are like, it's pretty much the same as when I was an intern, but now I get to do more stuff, really brings people in. And I think that has been very, very effective in helping combat that stereotype that steel isn't cool, steel isn't fun, there aren't any challenges to solve in steel anymore, it's old, right? Well, you've got these brand new people out of school, you've got these excited people that got to work on cool things. We're hoping when our interns go back, they're like, let me talk to you about the projects that I got to work on this summer. And that's what we try to set them up for. And that's the most effective thing, I think, in my experience, that's worked really well for us.
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention too, really great points with previous interns, making sure that we're kind of meeting candidates where they're at, which nowadays the career centers, career services, career opportunities on these campuses, those employment offices are really coaching students, which we love as recruiters, to walk up to companies knowing what the company does. So you don't have students walking up asking, who is SDI, who is Nucor, when they don't know, but these career services are coaching them to go online and check out who this company is. So if you don't have a good online presence, those students aren't going to be as drawn to your company. The steel industry already does have a pretty archaic air to our reputation, maybe, and by not having that online presence, you're not going to grab that younger, newer talent. Not having accessible websites, visible social media presence that just shows that your company is in this generation, that has played. We've started to develop that just recently at Nucor and are behind the curve on that, frankly, but I think that has shown a lot of proof on our campus with the candidates walking up saying like, oh, I saw these videos online, I saw this post on Instagram, and having that active social media and a well-built website has been really good for this upcoming generation. And I think something that just the steel industry as a whole has a lot of room to improve on.
From your perspective, both Robbie and Erica, what are some things that companies or universities could do differently to maybe help more students recognize that we do have some amazing opportunities available in the steel industry?
I think one of the things so companies and university is that partnership. So, and it's been mentioned a number of times on the call, find the thing that excites somebody, one of your team members, like for one of our team members, Tony, bladesmithing is his jam. And so we connect really talented, really enthusiastic people with the partnership, and also letting the universities know that the companies, we're here. We're excited to talk about things that we're passionate. Talk to me about microscopes. Like, it makes me really fun at cocktail parties, I promise, right? But making those connections with the local community, the campuses that you work with and the students, and then having that communication. Hey, we need somebody to talk to our elementary school class. We need somebody to talk to our students about opportunities. We're here, we're excited to talk about the things that we're looking for. And so that's one of the things that on a company standpoint, just reach out to universities and be like, I volunteer. I don't know what it is that you need. And sometimes not just going down during career fair, but finding those opportunities about things that your teammates are excited about and making those connections. And then from the university standpoint, reach out, leverage your connections here. We're really excited to talk about stuff, but also keeping funding for some of those really hands-on programs where people have an opportunity to try projects that do not have a solution. In any way that we can support that, let us know, because we find the most success with students that have seen that type of project before. So capstone projects, engineering projects, projects where you work with one of the companies and say, hey, here's a project that we'd like you to come up with a different type of solution for. We'd love to see people keep doing that, do that more. And we find a lot of really good success with students and universities that endorse that.
Yeah, I think the ask goes a long way. As industry, we can't go to the universities always and ask, hey, what do you need us to do? I think when a university comes to us and gives us a written ask, can you please do this? That's a lot easier for us as industry. Erica, would you like to share?
Yeah, I think having the universities and industry having specific collaboration points like industrial advisory boards, either department specific, university specific within the steel industry, and being able to collaborate at those, that's kind of that point that we can culminate all these things that we're talking about within curriculum. We can talk about projects that are available. We can talk about internship and job availability. Having people from your company part of those industrial advisory boards is really important. But as a university, making sure that you're creating those boards and connecting with those companies to start those industrial advisory boards and really keeping them active has shown a lot of benefit at certain universities for us within certain programs. And I really like the department specific ones, but I know on some of our campuses, we have like a career services organized one for industry as a whole, and that's really popular as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both ladies for joining us today. After we do the student portion of this panel, then we will move towards questions. And I'm sure the audience has been preparing some questions for you because you have such great perspectives on both being students in the steel industry and now supervisors. Danny, has there been any change in your microphone?
Best. How are we
Wonderful.
doing?
Yes. All right.
Yay,
We'll move
back
on to
on
student
track.
questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Okay, terrific. So Josh, welcome back. It's good to see you again. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see you. So we have some questions for you today. As mentioned previously, Josh was our intern and just returned home not too long ago. So excited to reconnect with him here as well. Josh, we'd love to first know what initially attracted you to the steel industry and how did you learn about it?
Yeah, so starting out on campus, there was a lot, and I got connected with the materials and manufacturing group at Penn State here, and I had a great professor that really pushed AIST and the steel industry and the opportunity available. I think I heard a couple statistics about, you know, what manufacturing and how much that really makes up our the American GDP. And I think I heard a little bit about wages in manufacturing, and then I was pretty much hooked from there on out, especially being active in that club. It's really how I heard about it, how I got connected to ASIS, and then what brought me to you guys this summer.
Well, we're very excited that it did. So I would love to know, you've talked about your involvement specifically with AIST and other manufacturing groups. Were there any other internships or student programs that influenced your decision outside of these experiences?
So other student groups, scholarships, internships, stuff like that. I mean, my first internship my freshman year was an electrical engineering position, which was really interesting. So I guess industrial, I get to dip my toes into all sorts of different baskets, but in terms of scholarships, it was really AIST's posting, and without, I believe I heard somebody on the call, I'm not sure who it was, mention getting professors on board with AIST, and I think that's so important because I really was sold from a professor. I mean, specifically Paul Lynch, if anybody knows, really takes any students that comes into our department under his wing. And I mean, I couldn't speak more highly of him. And I think that, I mean, in terms of my opinion here, that really influenced me was seeing him be a proxy to AIST and speak so highly of that was really like the bridge that just kind of connected it all. And I think there's a lot of recruiters here that if you want success in your recruiting, I mean, is getting that bridge, that proxy to your students, and that is definitely professors. I mean, I love my professors, and I trust them fully. And so when I hear them speak about something and really speak about it passionately, like I love to see that passion in their eyes, you know, and then I start forming my own thoughts and my own passions. So in terms of, yeah, internship scholarships, it was him pushing those. And specifically from just our surrounding areas, the things that were available, because, you know, as you guys know, and it's just like the real world. You can have the most amazing product, but if it's not marketed, if people don't know about it, then what's the use of it? So it was really him pushing that, and the group in materials manufacturing group specifically where he pushed that. But students got to get there, and it's got to get to their eyes somehow. Sure, yeah, that was the programs that really brought me into it.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I love hearing your passion about the way you feel from hearing your professors' views and, you know, what they care about and how that inspired you. So, you know, I obviously know the answer to this question. So I'm posing this question for everyone else to learn, like, how did you connect with, you know, ArcelorMittal to get your internship?
Yeah, so originally they reached out to me as I was honored to receive the AIST scholarship, foundation scholarship, and they originally reached out, I think it was in December. And then from there, eventually there was an interview, and we were able to connect later down the line. I think it was a couple months from there, but went through a phone screening and then an interview. But the initial connection was just an email. And so, like, I'm not sure, I can't speak of every student, but I like a clean email, and so it can get really full really quickly. But just it was all it was a email message from you guys.
And that, of course, giving background is that we learned about Josh through the AIST Steel Internship, but the intern scholarship program, and that he was selected as a scholar. And so we received his, you know, information in order to consider him for an opportunity at our site. And we started reaching out, you know, to connect and see if they'd be interested in an opportunity with us. And we weren't connected to his university in any specific way. We haven't been on their campus. And then we're, you know, further south, we're in Alabama. So this was a great way, you know, for us to connect with somebody, you know, outside of our normal radius, and also, you know, to bring Josh down into a different area he might not have been even considering before. So this is what the scholarship program did for us. So, you know, kind of going forward from here, Josh, what messaging or materials such as, you know, videos, social media, or in-person events helped you understand, you know, what a career in steel might look like?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of a unique position. I try to stay kind of disconnected with social media, but one thing I really appreciated from ArcelorMittal was really putting importance on LinkedIn. But a lot of young students, like speaking on behalf of myself, coming in, I mean, I didn't never heard, never seen any sort of media back then on anything steel. I mean, anything, company related, period. I think it's really hard with all the media, everything that's out there, right? That's catered, the algorithms that cater things to you and what you actually like, to get something in front of their eyes that's steel related about work is definitely more of a challenge. So there wasn't too many videos from my personal experience, messages, other than things local at campus, flyers. I saw a steel flyer about a metal camp, and then that got me involved with materials manufacturing group. So that's how I originally got there. But yeah, really, it was really all started with a flyer right by the water bottle filler. So those things work. But no social media, honestly, which is surprising to be honest. But yeah, there could well be different stories for different people.
Yeah, I think that perspective is really helpful for us to hear. So, what do you think companies or schools can do differently to help more students see the value in the steel industry careers?
Yeah. I think the numbers speak. I'm studying industrial engineering, and I love working with the math and combining data and engineering and working with other teams. And I got a great experience there at Calvert of doing some of that. And so I think if the companies made an effort to briefly educate the students on just like giving a value, like a gauge of really how much is out there, it is really beneficial. All it took, like I said, in that materials and manufacturing group meeting was a couple statistics just kind of put into perspective of like the size of the opportunities out there. And, I see a lot of my fellow students not pursue things unless it's like right in front of their face. I think a lot of students may struggle with that. And so kind of making it obvious, and maybe even having like I could even see like a banner at a career fair, just kind of list real bold text, just kind of some of the statistics. Like that's kind of how I work on function. Now, not everybody is like that, but I think that could really help. And that you know, schools would react to it well as well, I think. I mean, it's all speculation, of course, but I think just having a perspective of really the size of the opportunity would be beneficial for students and for you guys to be able to pull talent. Um, yeah, and in turn, it seems like this is definitely more of an art than like I even knew. Like, I guess I'm just worried about my schooling and getting through each and every day. But it seems like there is a lot that goes into recruiting. And for me personally, once you start putting kind of a value to something, it's just like a product, like how we're swayed a certain way towards a higher value product. Even though it's functions the same as one that's $200 or whatever less. You put a value, you put a perspective on something, and it can change a lot of people's views. That's my opinion. But there's a lot of different strategies out there that you guys can really work with that I don't know. It definitely is a much bigger thing than I originally saw.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it very much. And thank you for participating today. We really
Oh,
appreciate hearing your experience and hearing your views. Now, I'd love to open up the panel to the audience. Those who are participating today, you can submit questions via the chat. If you have questions for the supervisors, managers, for Josh, for us, I'd love to, receive some questions here. Okay, so I see here we have from Erica a comment. Many students have told me that they saw Nucor's Day in the Life videos, which inspired them to apply to the steel industry. Can you speak to Nucor's Day in the Life videos and how this affects your recruitment strategies?
Yeah, thanks, Chloe. The day in the life videos are something that our new social media manager brought up to us, really trying to take that video and target it and using it on campus specifically to not just posting it on social media. And like Josh was mentioning, hoping it gets to you through the algorithm, but being able to use them at like a freshman orientation or a classroom visit or something that you're more targeted and connecting with those students, using them if you have partnerships at like a football game or a basketball game, being able to use them for online advertisements directly from the university too. So being able to put those videos out, it's really just exactly as it sounds, a day in the life as a Nucor intern. So some of them are shot from the perspective of the intern, and they're kind of like a TikTok style video where they're just fully recording themselves and doing that, where we have some interns that are really great at that and a lot of interns who want no part in that. And then some of our videos are more professionally filmed too. So you kind of get, not more professionally, they are professionally filmed. So you have kind of both perspectives of a video that's really clean and looks really nice, but then you also have more of a natural setting where it's a real intern filming themselves, showing what they're doing a day in the life.
I'd love.
It is.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Chloe. I was just going to mention that on our campus this year at our site, Josh participated in recording a video kind of talking about his day in the life experience. And so that's something we are trying to branch out into. I was going to just ask Josh if he wanted to speak briefly to what it was like to do that video, to have that video recorded.
And can I add a question on for Josh? Because my question to Erica and now Josh as well is, I don't know about the other companies on the call, but I have tried to do this to no avail at Steel Dynamics. So far, I've only tried it once. And I really struggled to get buy-in from our students to record things like that. Not because we don't have fabulous students who want to get out there and show these things, but because we have students who are so invested in putting every second they have into their technical projects. It's really hard to justify saying, hey, come out of the mill and come record this video for me. So Erica, how do you get investment from your students and buy-in from your students? Josh, from a student perspective, what's your take on this? What can Steel Dynamics do better to engage more students to do videos like these?
Yeah, we've done a multitude of different things that we incentivize through like a raffle program. So if they submit videos to our social media director, then they get put in for a raffle. We've every year we get varying levels of participation. Like during COVID, it was a lot higher participation. I don't know if more people were just online, but as a recruiter specifically, I have more personal one-on-one connections with the candidates that I've recruited from my campuses. So I know the students that I'm going to go ask. So like Josh would be somebody that I'm going to specifically go to with and maybe leverage my personal relationship, right? Where that candidate's maybe a little bit more outgoing or more willing to talk on camera or those types of things. So going specific to targeted candidates has been helpful. The raffle has always been helpful, like whether it's a gift card for $50 or something bigger, like an actual item giveaway that's like, this is what we're trying to incentivize you with. But yeah, sometimes we get great participation. Other times we have to really go and have their mentors explain that this will be good for you to share in your LinkedIn and network and that type of stuff too. But it's not the easiest.
Thanks, Erica. Josh?
I would say, well, in terms of your question, can you repeat your question? Are you wanting specifically just like my experience with it, and then like kind of like what advice you said to encourage what you could do to encourage students to or interns to see, do the video?
That's exactly it. Yeah. What drove you to do it, and how can I get more students to do it like you?
Yeah. So at Archler Middle, there was a team of communications, and I think Haven was HR, and they worked on the video. So it wasn't so much on the intern themselves, which they were also interns, but it wasn't on me for the video. They showed up with a microphone and camera, and all I had to do was run them through and talk about what I was doing. And so that really simplified the process because it was simply just kind of sharing what I've been doing. And I think if you asked any of your interns, hey, what have you been doing? Like, would you share about your project kind of on camera? That I'm sure they would love to do that. Now, of course, some people are not going to be as comfortable on camera, but I think most of them, with how committed they are, like you said, to their projects, that they're going to want to share and show like kind of what they've been doing. Um, to second on that, the one thing that I think the videos at Archler could have been done better was prepare some questions. It was kind of just like, here's a camera, go ahead. And it's like, okay, there's a lot. Like, where do I start? Kind of just a little bit of rough structure could have been really helpful, because I don't know the expectation of the video. How long do you want this to be? Like, how short do you want this to be? Do you want me to get to what should I show? So I guess a little bit of just a rough outline, and then just having maybe a separate team kind of handle that, and then highlight the interns would be really beneficial, because at the end of the day, you're making a video to try to get out there to show other potential interns or new hires, like, okay, look, this is kind of what it's like working in the industry. So you want that like realism, and it's another form of like marketing for your brand, for the company you work at. So I mean, me personally, I think that keeping it broad and structured and simple for that intern, while having a freedom with it for them to really express what they've worked on is kind of like the best mix of it. And then you run into the problem of getting it out there. But yeah, just kind of having a separate team to be able to arm that, really man that, because I mean, once again, then there's the time of video editing, and then the student's like, well, maybe I don't know how to video edit, or you run into other problems. And then if they're focused, it's just like it's another burner on over here, and it's just something that they may not be interested. No matter if there's a prize or not, they may just kind of be like, I'd rather just focus on what I'm working on, like this is my career here. And so I would say having that team by Arcelor really was a good idea, because I mean, I was able to just basically stop what I was doing for a couple minutes and dedicate just some conversation to the project. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Great. I will jump in too to add to that some context as well, just from my insight. So as he mentioned, Haven, she was our talent team intern. And then we also had a communications intern. And so they took lead together on this project. So they fully owned it. It was their project. It was part of their responsibilities to handle this particular task. So they coordinated their schedules. They went out together. They met with all of the interns. They owned the entire process. And then they were responsible for editing the video. So they did work division and so forth. So we partnered them up for the final product, which is then reviewed by us. We do have to have safety review it to make sure that we're not showing something we shouldn't show. We have to have, some specific requirements around it, but we let them own that initial, like, how does this project look to you? How do you want to execute this project? And it allows him to be interviewed by his peers too, like be talking to his peers, people he's already in the intern group with, which maybe, I don't know, Josh, you could say, but if it helped kind of make it feel a little bit less like stressful.
Like in terms of talking about what how they handled the camera and like what recording.
Yeah, like them being the ones who were doing it versus somebody from the communications team you haven't met, for example.
Oh, yes, yes. No, I understand now. Yeah, having a fellow intern come to you and approach you, you went through training all together. And I know Arcelor Middle did an excellent time of having enough events for us to kind of connect that way early on. So I was very comfortable around them, and definitely made it a lot easier to be able to just kind of like see a camera, because I wouldn't say I'm a person that like loves to be in front of a camera. If I can avoid it, I will. But I would say that it would made it very comfortable just knowing that, like, okay, I know both of these people. I've had some wonderful conversation with them. It made it a lot easier for sure.
Thank you so much again, Josh, and thank you all for sharing your insights. I do think we've heard, some great ideas today about how we can better connect with students and build awareness of the steel industry's opportunities. And hopefully everyone here is leaving with at least one new tactic that they can take back and try. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and move forward to Morgan for our next step.
All right. Thank you. So before we get to final questions, we would love to kick out 2 polls because, again, like we have said in the very beginning, this call is for all of us. It is to add value. It is to help us take things back to our companies and make things better. So our first poll for you is, what topic would you most like to see covered during the next AIST talent acquisition call? So you can select multiple choices here that are in front of you. And just so we can be very intentional in the preparation for the next call, we would love for you to take the time and expand on your answers so we can add the most value to these calls as possible.
It looks like we're at about 60%.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you can throw up the next poll. Our next one is, what do you think could be improved about these webinars so we can make it even better next time? Okay, just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the poll portion. And again, if you want to take more time to thoroughly think about these two polls, feel free to reach out to either of the ladies on the call from AIST. They will keep your answers confidential as well. So you can grab their email addresses from the invite and from the previous emails or the polls. So again, thank you all for your participation in the polls, and I will kick it over to Chloe to close us out.
Thanks, Morgan. As we have in previous webinars, we will be distributing all of the best practices shared today, as well as meeting notes after today's call. Does anyone have any last questions or comments? Okay, wonderful. Danny?
Thanks, Chloe. All right, everyone, thank you so much. This concludes our agenda for today. We hope you have found this meeting informative and that you'll continue to join us for future meetings. If your schedules allow, please join us at the University Industry Relations Roundtable and Steel to Students reception at MS&T in Columbus, Ohio on September 29th. To learn more about this, you can visit aist.org/UIRR. And on behalf of AIST, we'd like to thank you all for attending, and a special thanks to our hosts, Chloe Myers, Kristen Perkins, Danny Odom, and Morgan Benner, and of course our panelists, Robbie Brost, Josh Nelson, and Erica McClafferty. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone, and be well.
Thanks, everyone.